I'd been looking at A greater than for what seemed like months, wondering what was supposed to come next. So far, what had come next was frustration, surfing a wave of nostalgia for the user-chummy old Apple I'd given away. A stack of fat books stood next to the computer. They were written in a language somewhere between beginning English and advanced Dada. The index to the one on top, the open one, said that the chapter called Getting Started began on page 92. I slapped it shut and hit one of the computer's keys at random, and the damn thing beeped at me. My blood pressure tripled. I found myself standing up with my fists clenched, took 2 breaths, and wandered over to say good morning to Hansel and Gretel, my parakeets. They ignored me. I ignored me too, and climbed out onto the sun deck. Topanga Canyon folded itself away toward the horizon. In front of me, hidden by the hills to the northwest, was the Pacific. To the southeast was L.A. Below me was the thinnest of thin air. Someday, probably while I'm sleeping, the house I live in will fall into the canyon, where I fervently hope it will crush the heavy metal drummer who pounds away, day and night, some 600 feet below. Until then, the house just leans over the edge, a creaking testimonial to the resilience of 70-year-old wood. Mine is probably the oldest and certainly the worst-built house in the canyon. At one time, it was also the most remote. It was so remote that the death of its original owner, an unskilled hermit who'd slapped it together in the century's teens out of odds and ends and sheer hermetic rage, wasn't discovered until his mummified body was found hanging from the living room rafter almost a decade after he'd tied the knot in his final necktie. As far as anyone knew, he'd been driven to toss his goodbye kiss at the world by nothing more profound than the sight of old Topanga Canyon Boulevard being paved beneath him. Beneath the diluted daylight on the deck, I stretched. Joints popped. Kids' joints didn't pop. I guessed I wasn't a kid anymore. A hungry hawk sliced through the sky above me, and I realized I was lying down. It felt too early to lie down. It also felt too late to get up. Given the fact that I had a mild case of the post-Coke heebie-jeebies, my first in years, I hadn't expected to be comfortable so soon. My eyes called for a vote. It came out 2-1, with me on the losing side, and the eyes closed. At the moment that my eyelashes converged, the phone rang. This was no tired, cranky, irritated ring like Toby Vane's phone had produced. It was a coloratura soprano, trilling, full of hope and spring, the lighter-than-air notes of a diva who's finally been told she can sing after weeks of laryngitis. The phone had rung so rarely of late that I'd taken to waxing it. On the 7th ring, I made my first big mistake of the day. I got up to answer it. First, though, I had to find it. I had a vague, watery memory of having tried to get Roxanne's number from information the night before, and of having dialed Eleanor when that attempt failed. I remembered turning off my own answering machine in petty revenge when Eleanor's machine had answered. What I didn't remember was where I'd put the phone. It continued to trill merrily away while I began at the wall outlet and painstakingly traced the cord through many a loop and circumnavigation of my cluttered living room. Finally, I lost patience, took the cord in both hands, and gave a sharp pull. The telephone emerged abruptly from one of the bookcases and clattered to the floor, taking Frederick B. Artz's The Mind of the Middle Ages with it. I slapped the book into place while the phone squawked at the floor, then picked up the receiver. So, my voice sounded grumpy even to me.
"Hello,"
someone said in a bright and friendly fashion.
"Is Simeon Grist there?"
I weighed the pros and cons. Depends.
"This is Norman Stillman's office calling."
Mr. Stillman has a talking office?
"Well, of course not." She sounded vaguely affronted. "I'm a secretary. Mr. Stillman would like to see you."
About what?
"I'm afraid I don't know."
Mr. Stillman